I taught a unit about professional design practice for third year students, and the learning outcomes really focused on students increasing their awareness of the issues surrounding professional design practice today.
And there'll be text underneath it saying breaking barriers.
So we worked on heightening their communication skills, also practicing effective methods of self-promotion, and this is all really important because it's a highly competitive field, and this unit aims to give them an edge as they enter the industry.
I just came up with like this saying, it just worked in my head, change of view changes you.
This unit was delivered both online and on campus. So the online material really set up what was going to go on in the face-to-face time, and that was really explicitly made clear at the beginning of the semester.
A couple of weeks ago, I said that it's time for you to start saying, "I am a designer," out loud and proud. And today we're going to dig a little bit deeper and look at what that really means by exploring the issues that currently surround professional design practice.
So every week began with an online lecture pod that students had to engage with. They had to listen to a 20-minute recording and complete a compulsory worksheet, and also read my teaching blog once a week. So this all had to be done before the face-to-face tutorial, where we actually rebranded or renamed it as a workshop. Students had to do a mix of different activities. Most of them were accessible, including things like presentations or giving and receiving critique, as well as some practical activities as well.
You have different animals, but the different animals move and interchange.
Oh no, that's not. Well, yeah, 3 animals.
So students were engaged with this unit firstly online by having to engage with the lecture material, and that was really integral to their preparedness for the face-to-face tutorial. So they had to do that stuff before coming to class, otherwise they were often caught unaware or unprepared for discussions and activities and presentations. So that was key. So how does that work on the three?
Here. This would be like 3 segments here.
So that way.
Yeah.
Is that dimension like they're more like squares?
I only put it on A4 at the moment, but it's vector, so I can just resize it, work to whatever.
Yeah. In the face-to-face classes, students had to do practical workshops, they had to give and receive critique in an informal setting and also a formal structured scenario, and they also had to do quite structured practical activities, and all of this workshop time fed into assessments. With regards to field study, there was one assessment where students had to go out and find a design studio that they really admired, visit the studio, conduct interviews, and then build a presentation that they had to take back to class. So effectively they were teaching each other about the current issues surrounding design practice today. With the online material, I think what was really key about how I set up this unit was the worksheets and lecture notes that students had to complete while they were listening to the lectures. That really meant that they were engaging with it because it fed into an assessment. It also allowed me to measure the level of engagement because, you know, even though it was part of an assessment, it's still optional. So I got a sense for how many students were engaging with particular topics, and it helped me improve the unit afterwards as well. What was also really unique about this unit were the enhanced podcasts. So I know that visual communication is my discipline, and it was definitely a core facet of my podcasts, but the same principles would apply to many different disciplines, and that is just simply the idea that when you are learning independently, if you are seeing, listening and doing at the same time, it just heightens the chance of retention and you're actively learning. So it worked really well in that regard. And the last thing that I would say as a tip is that I don't know that this would necessarily work with first year students, because the emphasis on online learning was really heavy. It was an equal split, and it might be really isolating for a first year student. The face-to-face time relied on their existing communities of practice and their comfortability in talking and sharing ideas with each other and sharing knowledge. So that might be a little bit brutal in first year, but it worked. It would work in second or third year.
Sean's illustration suggestions that he's put on the Facebook page.
From the onset, students understood that the face-to-face time and the online time were clearly different opportunities for learning. So online was a time for reflection and research, and face-to-face was a time for action and talking. So if you can clearly articulate this from the beginning, students appreciate both parts of the mix. And what I found from students is that they really did enjoy the space and being able to learn independently, but they really valued that face-to-face time because it was also crucial to their progression with some of the topics and assessments. So the attendance rate for that semester was actually 97%, which was pretty good considering it being a third year unit, and typically by third year I've found in my experience attendance rates tend to wane because students become really adept to the norms of the rhythms of a unit, and they understand how much they can get away with in terms of attending. So this really captured their attention because it meant that they could stay connected whether they were on or off campus. Yeah, and that circle can be bigger as well, you know. So play around with the dimensions.
Does it have to be a circle? You could take like the Pink Floyd artwork thing